All right, all right, all right. This is Jonathan Clark. This is Chosen episode 8. And I'm just going to jump on Facebook for a second and make sure this is broadcasting properly because last time Jonathan forgot to press the microphone button and Jonathan forgot to put on the camera. Not a good start. Okay, here's what we're talking about today. We are talking about successful brands are built with your customers talking about you, not you talking about you. So people think that marketing is about spending money and advertising. It's not. Marketing is about creating the conditions that you need so that people will talk about you. I spent years working with companies and organizations to think about how marketing actually works. And it's changing. People don't understand what marketing is. And we can't talk about how it's changing until we talk about what it is. So it's not hustle, it's not hype, it's not interrupting people, it's not even buying ads. Those things worked really well in 1973. You could buy an ad in the middle of MASH and you'd hit 70 million Americans. It was bigger than the Super Bowl every week. The internet turned all of that upside down. This whole permission thing is now that I'm going to accept that you send me messages that I want to see because I want to see them. I've decided to see them, I've chosen to see them, and I'm giving you my permission to talk to me, right? It's anticipated, it's personal. I'm not spamming people. But then you're missed if you're gone. And most of the time, successful brands are built where your customers are talking about you, not you talking about you. Okay. So what can you do? Can you give people a story? Can you give people enough reason to talk to you so that they spread the word, right? That's what we're talking about today. So creating conditions for other people to eagerly spread your idea. Now, it's becoming clear in this era of AI, in an era of way too much noise and not enough attention, it's almost impossible to hustle your way to success. So the reality is what transfers and what's portable is stories. And that's one thing that's not changing in an age of artificial intelligence. People are still going to be the buyers, and AI is not going to be the buyer. So we're still talking people to people. Okay. If your business is built on being the cheapest and you can be the cheapest and succeed, great. Your job's easy. You don't need any marketing. Right now, if you're selling training shoes or vapes or eyebrow threading, you're going to be busy. That's how Walmart and Woolworths and lots of other stores grew and grew and grew, because it was like, we've got average stuff. It's cheaper than everywhere else. Come and buy it. That's when you don't need a marketing department, right? You need a marketing department to sell things that people think are worth it, that aren't easily measured, they're not commoditized, and they're not the cheapest. So when an AI shows up, it's hard to teach it that. So it would go and buy the cheap thing. And that's what's going to happen. It's going to be a race to the bottom. It's going to be price-based. And I think one of the things about us telling stories to share our brand is it conveys a lot of value. As a small business, we're having to face this sort of technology challenge with adopting AI and learning how to use it and using it and leverage it. But we're also trying to keep the human element, the people element. And story is one thing that will do that. As more and more AI content gets produced, one of the easiest ways to stand out is to just be human and just be you, right? Just be 100% you. Don't rely on the machines telling you what to say. So storytelling is one of the ways you can do that. And this is the fork in the road when it comes to AI. The current cycle is, how can I use AI to use less people and spend less money? So you're cost reducing yourself, right? Now, that's quickly going to be replaced by the opportunity to use AI to make things better, to use your AI to work harder, but be more valuable. That's where the human hybrid AI combination is going to work. Use AI to be better at what you do. Use AI to reach more people with your stories, with your humanity, with your genuineness. Is that a word? Your authenticity, whatever you want to call it. And I'll talk about that later. But here's where it starts. Ask yourself this question: who do you want to help your customers become? And what results do you want to help your customers achieve? What are your customers hiring you to do? When you help somebody get to where they want to go, you don't have to push very hard. And as entrepreneurs, we get paid to help people get what they want, right? We help our clients get what they want and they pay us. It's a good deal. On the other hand, if you're trying to persuade people who think that you're wrong, that you're right, you're fighting a losing battle and you're going to meet resistance. So the way to build trust in this AI-driven world is people. And you are your brand. If you're a solopreneur, especially, you are your brand. Now, what's a brand? A brand is not a logo. A brand is a promise. It's an expectation. So let me give you an example. If Ford Motor Cars announced that they were coming out with a line of training shoes, we have no idea what that would look like. But if Nike announced that they were opening a hotel, we probably know exactly what that would be like. Because Nike has a brand, Ford has a logo. And trust is super simple. Trust is, do I think you're going to keep your promise? Did you keep your promise? So if you make audacious promises constantly, but you don't keep them, then you're the Wizard of Oz. And when you pull back the curtain, you see all the machinery and you're not a wizard at all. And therefore, I don't trust you. You're Michael Fish, the weatherman. If you're in the UK, you said one thing, but what actually happened was something else. But if you make real promises and you keep them, especially when it's hard to, that's how you build trust. And who do you think does that really well? Just in your lived experience, you've got Nike, who knows how to do that really well and deliver on their promises, and you know what to expect. But who else can you think of that really does that really well in your experience? Think of a brand that you admire. Think of a brand that you trust. And they don't have to be a famous brand. So I'll give you another example. I recently bought a replacement for a time management system that I've been using for 16 years because the Tony Robbins company that I bought it from used to make and support their own software. It was called RPM and it was a software program. And I used it for 16 years. Then one day they decided they're not going to support the software anymore. I can't access it. I can't retrieve it. And I lost 16 years of my diary, which is really annoying. And I've had to use paper and pen ever since, and that just drives me nuts. So I bought a new system from my friend and colleague, Cordelia. And Cordelia, if you're watching, how you doing? I know her, I like her, I trust her. She's great at what she does. I bought 2 of her products so far, and they're amazing. So am I going to trust her next time when she offers something else? Of course I am, because she kept her promises, right? That's worth so much more than a Super Bowl ad. And that's the opportunity when a customer raises their hand and they says, I've got a problem, I've got a challenge, and I think you can help it for me. Can you talk to me about it? That's the moment where trust is the bedrock. And if you say, well, due to unusually heavy call volume, our phone times have changed, please leave a message and the AI will call you back. You've just made a really, really clear statement about your marketing priorities and about whether I could trust you or not. I've heard it said that a company may own its brand, but the rest of the world owns its reputation. And the thing that's really interesting in a lot of companies is the marketing team own the brand. Now, you probably think you've got a little bit of a different point of view about marketing's contribution to the brand and what the rest of the business is really doing to deliver on that brand. The first piece of business advice I got in 1997, and I said to my first ever unofficial coach, Ali was my first kind of unofficial coach. He said, do you want to run a marketing-driven company or a market-driven company? I'll say that again. Do you want to run a marketing-driven company or a market-driven company? And I said, what's the difference? He said, a marketing-driven company is run by the marketing department. A market-driven company is there to serve the market. So let's think about that. There's a famous German car company that makes diesel cars. So 5 engineers and some accountants get together and they decide to come up with a scheme to write some code that will defeat the European emissions tests and allow them to cook the books. And it ends up being a huge scandal and it costs them $1 billion in fines. The question, was that a good marketing move or not? Because that's what it was. It was a marketing move. But the marketing department probably wasn't in the room when they came up with that idea. So everything your company does that touches the public, touches the market, how you design things, how you answer the phone, how much you charge, what kind of stuff you're dumping in the river. These are all marketing decisions. And if you're not touching them, you're not really in charge of the marketing. And everything I'm talking about, is a team sport. Like, how do you think when a small business maybe doesn't have a marketing department, doesn't have a team, maybe it's just you, maybe it's a one-woman business or a one-man operation, how should they think about that? Inside the big organization, people are keeping track of something. So like an investment bank, they're keeping track of their bonus and how much money they made. But that's not true almost any other company. Mostly we're keeping track of, what will I tell my boss? Will this get me in trouble? Is this memo going to create a hassle? Am I taking a risk? What am I getting measured on? So if you're relying on these false benchmarks, something that's easy to measure but not particularly results driven, not particularly ROI driven, you're going to keep measuring it and you're going to keep going in the wrong direction efficiently. Right? So, for example, in the early days of email marketing, if you had an employee who was walking out the door stealing laptops and staplers and selling them at car boot sales, you'd fire them. If you get someone on your team who's emailing large numbers of people to make the quarterly numbers work and tick a box, you're letting them get away with that, but it's costing you way more money than some stolen laptop, right? What are we keeping score of? What are you keeping score of? If you ask the right question, you'll be amazed at how quickly the mission of the organization and its purpose becomes really clear. And I'm talking about email marketing in maybe the 90s and the 2000s. And companies would put up 2 big numbers on the wall where everyone could see them when they walked in. One number was how many people are subscribing to my email list. And the second number is what percentage of them are opening the emails. If those are the 2 numbers that everybody sees on their way in, you can bet people are going to change their behavior to make those numbers go up, right? I heard an interesting story about Yahoo that one of the things that caused them a lot of problems was they were the stock ticker. The value of their shares on the stock market was always on display. And there were 3,000 people who sat there all day watching the stock price. And if they did something that made it go up in a day, they did more of that. Now you can make your stock price go up in a day, but if it doesn't necessarily go up in 1 year for the whole year, then you're doing the wrong thing. And it worked probably because in public companies before that, the tendency was to hit the quarterly earnings number, right? Always hit your Q1 target, your Q2 target. But if you're hitting your targets, but you're not delivering on your brand promise, something's not right, right? You're spending all this time as a marketer trying to hit numbers, but you're not necessarily showing the market that you believe in what you're doing. Does that make sense? So there's a lack of authenticity there. There's a gap between what you said you were going to do and what you're actually doing. And on the issue of authenticity, because this has come up a lot in the last few weeks when I'm talking to clients, I call it brand energetics. Your brand isn't what people know about you. It's what they feel in your presence and when you're not around. Now, most solopreneurs obsess over their logos, their fonts, their colors, their website, their funnel, how pretty their PDFs are, the AI prompts they're using. Meanwhile, the real question is, how do people feel after spending 5 minutes with you? That's your brand energy. So take some time to do a little brand energy audit. When somebody leaves a conversation with you Do they feel bigger or smaller? Do they feel clearer or are they more confused? Do they feel braver or do they feel more fearful? Are they inspired or are they overwhelmed? Are they energized or are they drained? That emotional residue that you leave them with, that's your personal brand. It's your energy signature. And every unforgettable legend has one. Think about the people you admire. They probably all leave a predictable emotional wake behind them. And it's not because of the logo, it's because of their presence. Every time you soften your opinion, every time you hide your sense of humor, every time you avoid telling a risky story, or you dilute your personality and you become more palatable, more PC, you pay an invisible tax. Right? I call it the apology tax. You're not being unapologetic. You're actually being apologetic, and you're paying that cost, not in money necessarily, but in memorability. So the recognition equation isn't visibility equals content that I put out. It's recognition equals how distinct you are, how consistent you are, and that emotional residue, that feeling that you leave people with. That makes sense? This is the first time I've kind of put this into words, and I'm trying to get my mouth around it. Your personal brand isn't your logo. Dear God, no. It's not your website and it's not your color palette, my hex codes. It's what people feel after spending 5 minutes with you. So most solopreneurs obsess over fonts, funnels, social media strategies, while they completely overlook the emotional residue they leave in their clients afterwards. Do you remember Ghostbusters? Do you remember the scene in Ghostbusters where the green goobery ghosty guy is eating all the food on the food trolley, and the Ghostbuster comes around the corner and sees it, and the ghost flies through him and slimes him, and the Ghostbuster's left there going, oh my God, I've been slimed, right? Are you sliming your clients? Are you sliming your clients, or are you leaving them invigorated? Are you leaving them inspired? Are you leaving them more positive and more hopeful? Are you giving them the tools? Are you moving the needle, or are you leaving them feeling icky? Are you giving them, in Scotland, they call it giving them the bulk? Are you giving them the bulk? So people don't remember information. They don't really remember your framework. They certainly don't remember your logo. They remember the person who made them feel differently, made them think differently, finally put to words something they've been struggling to express. That's your brand energy. And every unforgettable expert has an energy signature, and it's unique as their fingerprint. They have a consistent emotional experience that they create wherever they go. They're the same person on the stage as they are off, right? Some people leave people feeling inspired. Others make people feel understood or challenged or hopeful. The problem is that many experts never let the world experience that version of themselves. They send their credentials instead of their character. Their polished LinkedIn resume goes online, while the real person, the ones that clients rave about after the meetings, stays hidden. So every time you soften your opinions, you edit your stories, or you mask parts of you that make you unique, you pay that apology tax. You become less memorable. You become more vanilla. You're like every other coach, every other consultant. If you want to become the choice in your industry, if you want to become chosen, see what I did there, stop asking, how do I get more attention? And start asking, how do I become unforgettable? Right? Recognition isn't built through better branding. It's built through greater congruence, meaning the closer the public persona is to the real, unapologetic, private version of you, the more magnetic your brand becomes. Like I heard it said recently, what is the one thing that makes influencers influencers? And the answer was audacity. They have the audacity. What's the first thing you notice when someone approaches you? The audacity. The audacity to be unapologetic, to say what they want to say, to stick to their own opinions and not, make it bland, or not give it to Chat GPT to make it more palatable. Because in the end, people don't buy your logo, they don't buy your framework, they buy the feeling of who they are in your presence. They want to be in your orbit. They want some of your energy to rub off on them. That's brand energetics. People don't go see Tony Robbins to spend 4 days on a starvation diet dancing all night. People go and see Tony Robbins. Done it 4 times, Tony. People go see Tony Robbins because they want to be like Tony. They want to be rich, famous, good looking, lots of money, popular, right? That's how legends are engineered. Authenticity is one thing that you need to give out. The other thing you need to give out is consistency. And consistency is what professionals do. Consistency is what we buy when we pay money to a brand, or we call a company or a small business. Consistency is what your employees want when they get paid. They don't want the paycheck to come on Wednesday and then maybe sometimes on Friday, and sometimes it'll be a little bit more and sometimes it'll be a little bit less. They want it to be consistent, right? So, Nicolas Cage as an actor is always Nicolas Cage. What you see is what you get. He's always the same guy in every film. George Clooney is always George Clooney, right? Jim Carrey is always Jim Carrey, although there's some debate about that. If you've got a small business that says, my customer is standing in front of me, it's a teenage girl, and we make ballet slippers, and we think these ballet slippers are going to be perfect for you. But the owners of this company who make the slippers are 60-year-old white guys with beer bellies. They're making something for somebody else. Okay? So no matter what angle you look at us from, we're going to be the same. That's what the client wants. We're not going to talk about you behind your back. We're not going to manipulate you. We're not going to try and screw you. We're not going to sneak things into the contract when you're not looking. We're going to be consistently the people we say we are. And if you want to go home and do some other weird thing, that's on your own time. But when we're here, we're consistently doing the thing we promised we would do. And we're going to stick to that, right? You've got to live by some similar rules to deliver with that kind of consistency. Okay. I don't have any meetings to worry about because no one goes apart from me. It's like, I run my own business. I can do what I want. I'm also my own boss. I'm also the janitor. That also means there's no one to bounce ideas around with. And even if I create an AI tool to bounce ideas off of, it's going to talk to me like an AI. So what I decided over the years as my businesses got bigger and all that kind of stuff, there's a role called Jonathan. And it's the same person you're going to have dinner with. It's the same person you meet on holiday. It's the same person on stage or off stage. It's the same person you're going to meet on Zoom as you're going to meet in the street, right? There's no difference. That's consistency, and that's brand energetics, right? So let me give you another example. And I'm making sense out of this as I go along, so forgive me if I'm bouncing around. Hopefully this will make sense. I'll edit the video. So here's an example. In 1997, in my 150-year-old cottage that my parents owned, the heating broke down suddenly, right? We had coal fire that heated the water tank in behind the fire, and then all of a sudden we've got no hot water. So, and of course it was winter when it broke, right? When you need it most, that's when it broke. So I call 4 different firms to come out to replace the water tank and give us an estimate or whatever needs to be done. First guy comes in. He's not the owner of the business. He's the technician. He's the boiler guy. He's the hot water guy. He walks into the house and he starts putting on paper slippers on his feet. You know, the kind of coverall things that go on your shoes. And I said, listen, pal, you're going to be outside looking at the water tank, and you're going to be in the garage looking at the pipes. You don't need to put on paper slippers. And he goes, no, we always wear the slip-on slippers. I'm like, okay. And then he hands me a clipboard and he says, while I'm looking at your water tank, have a look at this. It's the names of 25 customers within 3 miles of this house and their phone numbers who've agreed that if you want to call them for a referral, they'll answer that call. right? I'm like, wow. So when he came back to the front door, I said, you're hired. And I cancelled the other 3 calls because this is all I wanted. All I wanted was a firm that played the role of, we are professionals, we give a damn. I'm not some guy with a screwdriver and I'm going to say whatever I feel like, right? It's like, people are watching. Nothing's off the record. Everybody's watching all the time. So how do we want to behave? And maybe my mother's watching this, or the customers are watching this, or the competition are watching this. If I always show up the same way, I never have to worry about keeping the story straight, right? That's brand energetics. That's authenticity. That is consistency. Okay. So one of the things people struggle with is trying to differentiate. And the easy way to differentiate is be you. You are unique. You are the sperm that won. You have a unique thumbprint. Did he say that? Yes, he did. You've got a unique thumbprint. No one has ever had that thumbprint before. No one ever will. You're a one of a kind. So the way to differentiate is just be you. Stop trying to be Tony Robbins. Stop trying to be Zig Ziglar. Stop trying to be somebody you're not. Right? Now, early on, I talked about your customers, what your customers going to say about you. If you don't give your customers something to say about you, they're not going to say anything. They're not going to talk about you. They're not going to talk about you because of some clever gimmick that you had. They're not going to talk about how hard you're trying to save your marriage or put your kids through school. They're not going to talk about how desperate you are for them to make cash. They're going to talk about something that helped them. They'll talk about something that raises their status or gives them progress or meets their needs, satisfy their values, right? If you give them that to talk about, they'll talk about you. And we can create that. We can create that through stories. We can create that through being consistent. We can create that through the brand residue that you leave on them. Here's another quick story. In New York City, there are something like 50,000 restaurants. And if you're from New York, you can confirm the following story. If a restaurant is shut, people aren't really going to notice and they're not really going to miss it because they've got 49,999 other ones to go to. But on Broadway and 9th Street, I'm told, about 30 years ago, they opened a restaurant called Carmine's. Carmine's was an Italian restaurant, and they did 3 things that were quite unique. Number one, they served more garlic than it was reasonable to eat in one meal. Just like sprinkle that on there. Number two, they served portions that were twice as big as any other restaurant, and they were meant to be sharing portions. And number three, you couldn't get a reservation unless you had a party of 6 people or more. So as a result, when you went to work the next day, you had to tell everybody where you were last night because A, it was a party, B, you stank of garlic, and C, you had a great story to tell about how much insane food that they served you. And if somebody says, well, we should go back, you had to find 5 other people to join you or you wouldn't be able to get a reservation. So built into the dynamic of Carmine's restaurant was this remarkability factor. The thing that made them worth talking about. They gave you stuff to talk about. Does that make sense? Unfortunately, most small businesses are saying, you can pick anybody and we are anyone. And if that's what you're saying and you're hoping you're going to win some Google search or some AI search, good luck. Good luck. Trying to do in a big way to stand out. And I think one of the interesting things about social media, people talk about personal branding all the time, it's become a lot more accessible. I can look up anybody. I can look up anybody and see what they're doing. The personal brands back in the day didn't have access to mass media. It was offline and print and maybe TV and maybe radio. But what's happening with companies now is I can find out anything about anybody online if I want to, as long as they put it on there. The personal branding element within a company, I mean, how does that work? How do you do personal branding within a company? Well, the VIP, the CEO or the CFO or the chief visionary officer is going to have their own Facebook account, their own LinkedIn account, their own TikTok channel, right? They've got their own personal brand, but that's within a company brand. But a brand is, again, What do I expect to hear from you? The magic of a human being as an avatar for the brand is that human beings are complicated. They have a lot of facets. They can do things that are remarkable, that a faceless brand has trouble with. The downside is you can't own a brand, or sorry, you can't own a person, and that person might let you down. If you're a public company, unless you're some crazy billionaire who owns a lot of the stock and you've got a majority share, it makes a lot of sense for smaller companies to put a face on what they're doing. If you're leading a community, you be the custodian of that community, right? Talking head video, be the face, be the poster boy, be the poster girl, be the influencer if that's what you're trying to do. But be a known face, or in Scotland we call it a well-kent face. You want to be recognizable. You want people to go, oh, I know who that is. I've seen you all over the place, right? That's the authenticity thing. That's the consistency thing. It's the person given the platform a brand, giving them sides of themselves, give them aspects of themselves. That's what makes you interesting. So it's the faces in your feed that slow your scroll, right? On social media, when you're doom scrolling, I found myself doom scrolling the other night. I haven't done that for a while. It's the faces in your feed that make you stop, and it's what they say in that hook in the first 10 seconds is what makes you stop, right? And everybody's trying to be the face, and everybody's trying to come up with a hook. And you've got all these voices, and that's where all the influences have come from. Yeah. Mark Zuckerberg really wants you to focus on certain numbers. But actually, Mark, those numbers aren't important to you. Sorry, they're important to Mark Zuckerberg, but they're not important to me or you watching this show right now. They're important to him. Making his numbers go up is not your job. So don't be an unpaid slave for Facebook, with all due respect to Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or pick your channel. I have X number of Instagram followers. I didn't do anything to have that happen. And if I post something about a new book launched, maybe 12 people on Instagram will buy it. But the number of Instagram followers I have is completely irrelevant to the end result I'm trying to make in the world, right? It's a distraction. Don't focus on the vanity metrics. It's not why you're here, okay? The business and the commotion and the actions you're doing to get attention and the work you're trying to do to get trust should be the same thing, okay? Wendy's has between 15 and 20 people working on the social media accounts, and they're notorious for some of the things they say on social media. Has that sold one Frosty? Has it sold one hamburger? Probably not. They're having fun slagging each other and, doing what they're doing. And they're getting paid to amuse themselves. But is that in line with Wendy's brand? Probably not. Is that something they want to do more of? Maybe not. If you're looking for awareness, fine. How do you get more famous or more trusted and less famous? Yeah, more trusted and less famous. How do you create that desire to watch you? How do you create those messages that are going to hook people? The way you do that is by being consistent, by being genuine, authentic, and helping them move the needle. Okay. Every once in a while, somebody becomes a Kardashian. But with all due love and respect, it's probably not going to be you. And it's definitely not going to be me. Let's face it, we don't need any more Kardashians. We already have the ones we have. So you're building your brand, but not Facebook's brand. It's not about vanity metrics, right? It's not about how many followers you've got. It's not how many likes you got. It really isn't. It's not about, oh my God, it's not about impressions, and it's certainly not about reach. You can't live on impressions and reach. Okay, they're vanity metrics. Members and payments and dollars are the metrics you should be looking at. I don't care how many impressions your video got, it's how many views did it get and how many of those people clicked the link and bought your product or hired you or bought your book or whatever it is. Okay, make sure you're measuring the right things. You do all the social media stuff to get clients, don't you? The one thing that most coaches and consultants are worried about is getting more clients. So they use social media to get more clients. Is your social media getting you more clients? Is it really? Because if it's not, whatever you're doing ain't working. So You could be doing emails, you could be doing organic search, you could be doing AI search, you could be doing social media, you could be doing workshops, networking. But tricking ChatGPT to recommend you as opposed to other people by inserting some kind of code in your website or whatever, there's plenty of people who want to sell you that today. But again, adding AI to the equation, many people are going to use it to get stuff done faster, cheaper, quicker, more grammatically correct, right? That's fine. But ultimately, is that going to get you more clients? That's really what this is all about. So the purpose of the Chosen show is that legends aren't born, legends are engineered. And what I'm hopefully sharing with you in this mad rant kind of fashion is that it's not about how many followers you've got. It's not about impressions. It's not about any of that. It's about, I'd rather have a list of 100 good people than a list of 1,000 crappy people. Okay. AI will get you more people, but are they buyers? AI will get you more views, but are they buyers? That's what's important. Are you showing up as you? Are you showing up as unapologetically you? Because guess what? AI can't reproduce that. Not at the moment. Okay. So yes, I've developed a whole bunch of really useful tools, AI tools that will help me with writing books, with researching information, all that kind of stuff. They don't write the books for me. They give me great ideas about what kind of books to write based on what's hot in the market right now. But I do the writing myself, right? For $20 a month, what are you waiting for? You've got a squadron of loyal employees who will work for you 24/7. And it's 20 bucks a month. And they're eager. They're smart, they're not very wise. But if you can learn how to harness AI and use it to make the human more amplified, I think that's the shift in front of every small business right now in any field I can think of. So when you're trying to keep up with what's going on, just think about, is this AI tool or this new technology that's coming in, is it going to help me amplify me, not dilute you? When AI shows up and gives us all this additional leverage, is it making you more of who you already are, or is it making you more vanilla? You should be showing up in a way that people are glad that you showed up. Your job's not to do your job. Your job is to solve problems for other people and make things better for them, right? That didn't used to be true. 200 years ago, your job was to feed yourself and survive so you wouldn't die. Now you probably don't have that problem. I personally don't know anyone who's starving to death, and you probably don't either. We live like kings. We have hot water. We have food. We have light anytime, day or night we want it. 200 years ago, that wasn't the case. And if you get tricked into thinking that your job is to make your bank happy with your bank account, that's a mistake. So I went all over the place there. This is Chosen. My name is Jonathan. Hi. This is all about building trust and getting more business and getting more referrals in the modern day, despite everything that's going on right now, by being more human, by using AI to enhance that humanity, tell stories, be more you. Does it amplify you and who you are, your uniqueness, your voice? Or are you letting AI talk for you? Do not do that. Please do not do that. We can tell. This is Jonathan Clark. This is Chosen. Remember, legends are not born. Legends are engineered.